There are moments in life when those who are meant to protect and serve end up being the ones who misuse their authority the most. This is a shocking story of an elderly man who unexpectedly found himself in a terrifying situation, one that should have never happened. Alone, defenseless, and being harassed for absolutely no reason, he faced an ordeal that could have ended in disaster. But what these officers did not realize, this elderly man had a connection so powerful, it only took a single phone call to turn the entire situation upside down. By the time this story reaches its end, those officers will deeply regret every action they took that day. So stay with us, because trust me, you do not want to miss a second of this. It was supposed to be just another peaceful afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The streets were calm, birds chirped in the trees, and families went about their daily routines without a care in the world. Among them was 72-year-old James Carter, a retired teacher, a man known and respected by everyone around. He had spent decades shaping young minds, dedicating his life to educating the future, and was now simply enjoying his well-earned retirement. That day, James had just finished a quick trip to the grocery store. With his bag settled neatly in the back seat, he drove home, completely unaware that in just a few moments, his day would take a terrifying and unexpected turn. As he turned onto a street, something in his rear-view mirror made his heart skip a beat. Flashing red and blue lights. A police cruiser was right behind him, sirens blaring. Confused, James carefully pulled over the side of the road, his mind racing. Had he done something wrong? He had been driving safely, obeying every traffic law. His registration was up to date, and his car was in perfect condition. So why was he being stopped? Two officers stepped out of the patrol car and began approaching his vehicle. One of them, Officer Bradley, walked with an air of dominance, his stance aggressive, his gaze piercing. Right beside him was Officer Miller, who seemed to follow Bradley's lead, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. James slowly rolled down his window, remaining calm despite the unease creeping into his chest. Before he could say a word, Officer Bradley's voice cut through the silence, sharp, demanding, and without a hint of courtesy. License and registration. Now. James, always a man of patience, reached for his wallet and spoke in a measured tone. "Good afternoon, officer. May I ask why I'm being stopped?" Bradley's eyes narrowed, his expression hardening. "You do what I tell you. Hand over your ID." His voice carried no explanation, no reason, just pure authority. Without hesitation, James complied, keeping his hands in plain sight, knowing all too well how quickly situations like this could escalate. Years of experience had taught him the importance of staying calm in tense moments. But something about this encounter felt wrong. The officers, however, offered no clarification. Instead, they took things a step further. "Step out of the vehicle," Bradley ordered, his voice sharp and unyielding. James frowned. "Sir, with all due respect, have I broken any laws?" His tone remained steady but firm. Bradley's jaw tightened. "Don't ask questions. Out of the car. Now." With a weary sigh, James unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out. But before he could adjust his footing, Officer Miller roughly grabbed his arm and shoved him against the car. "Spread your legs. Hands on the vehicle." James inhaled deeply, forcing himself to stay composed. He had done nothing wrong, yet here he was, being treated like a criminal. The officers patted him down aggressively, their hands digging into his pockets, their eyes scanning his car like they were hunting for something, anything, to justify their actions. Even his grocery bags weren't spared. A small crowd started to gather nearby. Curious neighbors peeked from their windows, some stepping onto their porches with concerned expressions. A few even pulled out their phones, hitting record. They knew James. They knew he was a man of integrity, a pillar of the community, someone who had never caused trouble. And now, they were witnessing something unjust unfolding right in front of them. Then came the moment that made James' blood run cold. "What's this?" Bradley sneered, holding up a small bottle of prescription pills. His eyes gleamed with accusation. "Drugs." James blinked in disbelief. "Officer, those are my heart medications. You can check the label. My name is right on it." Bradley smirked, his grip tightening around the bottle. "We'll see about that." You're acting nervous. Got something to hide. Before James could respond, Bradley yanked his arm. Turning to Miller, I think we should take him in. Suspicious behavior. James took a slow breath. He had been patient. He had remained respectful. But now, enough was enough. It was time to make a call. Officer, I need to make a phone call, James said calmly, his voice unwavering. Bradley let out a laugh. Who do you think you're calling? A lawyer? You're not under arrest. James didn't bother with the insult. Instead, he pulled out his phone, his movements slow and deliberate, and dialed a number. The phone rang once, twice. Then a deep, authoritative voice answered. James, my friend, how are you? James remained polite, but firm. Hello, Mr. Mayor. I apologize for disturbing you, but I seem to have found myself in a troubling situation. 2 officers have stopped me without cause, searched me without reason, and are now threatening to detain me. I don't know why. Silence. Then the mayor's tone shifted. No longer friendly, now commanding. Put me on speaker, James. Right now. James did as he was told, holding up the phone so both officers could hear. Officers! The mayor's voice boomed. This is Mayor Thomas. State your names and badge numbers. Now! The color drained from Bradley's face. Miller shifted uncomfortably. Sir, we were just conducting a routine stop. Do not lie to me, the mayor interrupted sharply. James Carter is a well-respected member of this community. You had no reason to stop him, and no reason to search him, and absolutely no reason to harass him. I want both of your badge numbers immediately, and I expect a full report on my desk within the hour. Bradley stammered. Sir, Enough! The mayor cut him off. I am calling the police chief as we speak. If I don't receive a valid explanation, you will both face immediate suspension. The power dynamic shifted in an instant. The officers, once so confident, now looked completely shattered. Their sense of authority? Gone. The fear in their eyes? Obvious. They scrambled to return James' belongings, muttering weak apologies. It was a misunderstanding, Miller mumbled. James said nothing. He simply took his things, got back into his car, and drove home. But this wasn't over. True to his word, the mayor took swift action. The police chief launched an internal investigation. Within days, both officers were suspended. Shortly after, Officer Bradley was fired and Officer Miller resigned under pressure. The video captured by neighbors went viral, igniting outrage and sparking a much-needed conversation about abuse of power. As for James, he returned to his peaceful life, but he never forgot that day. And thanks to his quick thinking and powerful connections, justice was served. Because real power, it doesn't come from a badge. It comes from wisdom, patience, and knowing the right people. What do you think of this story? Have you ever witnessed something similar? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories.